Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of HPCritical. It's a podcast where my friends and I talk all things gaming. I am Jarrell, and I am joined by Brandon.
Yo!
And Kelly.
Everybody.
And our wonderful special guest, Chris Penwell.
Hi.
So if you've listened to the HPCritical podcast before, you've heard Chris before because he came onto our What is Kingdom Hearts segment and told me all about Kingdom Hearts. And I'm so happy to have you back, Chris. Thank you for coming back to talk with us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my god, of course. Like, literally anytime. Just let me know. Like, literally anytime.
Cool.
And I said this last podcast, but once again, happy Pride Month, everyone. A lot of what we're gonna talk about is...
I wasn't on this podcast, so I will say happy Pride Month. Happy Pride Month, everyone!
You were not, Brandon. Oh my god, yeah. You missed out. You missed on our Pride party. We had a total Pride party. You missed it, bro.
It's cool.
It was banging.
I will watch the VOD and be there in spirit.
So, before I hop into this week's gaming news, I'm gonna put Chris on the spot just for a second.
Immediately!
Just so you can tell, listeners a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you just asked that rather than something a bit more personal, I guess.
Oh.
But I'm a freelance writer. I'm doing stories for Double XP, Nintendo Link, and soon Tech Raptor. So yeah, that's what I do.
We don't ask any after dark questions until after 9 p.m. So you've got like an hour before I start getting intrusive.
Before serious questions.
You've got an hour before I get a little intrusive. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so because it is Pride Month, I of course found a bunch of Pride stuff to talk about. And the first thing I want to talk about is Pride 22 at Twitch. Twitch is celebrating LGBTQIA plus creators all month long, and they have this whole like Twitch Pride 2022 month thing that they're gonna do. And before I go over a little bit of what they said that they want to do, what is you guys' experience with Twitch celebrating Pride? If you have you seen it before? Is it something that you think is prevalent enough that if you log on to Twitch you will see? Do you think they're doing a good job? Do you think they're doing a bad job? Before I go over what their plans are, just in general, how do you feel Twitch does with Pride?
Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
I can't disagree. I've seen nothing.
No, honestly, it's bad because like 4 or 5 months ago, I was streaming and I got hate raided. You know, so I've heard a lot of people go through that. So thankfully, it's less prevalent now. But at the time, it was just awful to deal with, and it feels like on Twitch, like there's nowhere to go to get support for that. But I don't know.
That's very, very true.
Yeah.
What about you, Kelly?
Yeah, I was just actually opening Twitch to look, and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 things above the Pride, Celebrate Pride, carousel. We had the same problem with every other, celebration month for anyone on Twitch. It's at the bottom of the screen. There's really no point. Even them saying they're going to do it, they don't really, I feel like, know what people really want. They just select, I don't know. I don't even know how they select who they select for the carousel and stuff. They do have it and they try, I guess, but it's not on the forefront. Those people aren't at the top banner, it's not the center of attention like it should be,
Yeah. The funniest part is, I feel like in the past, they did have everything at the top banner. Like, when it was prevalent, when something happened in the news, they were like, okay, we're going to put it at the top banner. And now that it's, not prevalent to Twitch, because obviously it is, now that it's not prevalently in the news, it's kind of just like, you want to find, LGBT Pride celebrations and creators, you've literally got to scroll to do so. Brandon, did you want to hop in on that before I tell everyone what they plan on doing?
No, I don't really have much more to say. Just, yeah, go on and tell us.
All right. So starting June 1st, they'll be kicking off a Pride Month across the pond in the UK, France, Germany, Spain, and Italy with local front page features, social and email spotlights, and a special festival weekend jam-packed with amazing LGBTQIA plus creator content. They're going to have a month-long celebration on that side of the globe. They're also having Out Loud Raising Voices Music Festival, hosted by the City of West Hollywood as part of the inaugural WeHo Pride celebration, with Marina, Lil Kim, Jessie J, Years and Years, and Madison Beer as some of the headliners. The Out Loud Raising Voices Music Festival is a 3-day award-winning LGBTQ plus music festival profiling and celebrating queer artistry as a kickoff concert to Pride Month. And you guys can go and join that. You can't because it's in the past. So if you missed it, sorry, but if you missed it,
to watch it somewhere.
Yeah, you could watch it somewhere, but if you missed it, it's also because Twitch did a really shitty job at advertising it. There's also a Twitch prom. Team Transtopia, which is a Twitch stream team comprised exclusively of transgender and gender diverse content creators, is hosting its first annual Twitch prom. And they also have some fundraisers for charity going on that you can go through Streamlabs and select, or you can go and celebrate and donate to different LGBTQIA plus streamers through fundraisers and through the Creative Camp on charity streaming. So those are just some of the things that Twitch has noted, and I did want to, even though I believe that we all feel like they aren't doing enough and they never have, I did just want to shout out those things. I don't think that those things change much of any of the conversation that we had before. As a matter of fact, most of them seem to be things not specifically done by Twitch, but Twitch advertising things done by other people and companies. So that's a thing. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out there so everybody knows what Twitch is doing or has done for Pride. And if you do want to find creators, you can go ahead and scroll down on the front of the Twitch page. Yeah, they're not great at celebrating. Never mind. I'm actually done. Before I move on, any comments on any of that?
It just feels disingenuous.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just doesn't celebrate the community on Twitch. If, everyone feels separated, it'd be nice to have something that brings everyone together in some way, Like, highlight specific, people on the front page, during a stream or something. Maybe have them all come together for, an event. I don't know. But I think Twitch should be doing more than just doing the superficial stuff with art musicians. That's something I don't get about Twitch as well. This focus on music recently, it's about games. It's about gaming.
Yeah.
So why are you doing all these concerts and stuff? You should be celebrating the gaming community and games and all that. But
yeah,
I'm actually so happy you said that, because that brings me to another point that I was not going to bring up, but since you brought it up, I'm going to bring it up. So there is not really, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but there's not really a space for LGBT plus gamers to enjoy themselves online, aside from something like Twitch. And I mean that in a space that is big enough and wide enough with enough reach, like something like Twitch, that will allow people to create communities, right? Of course you can have your specific discords, of course you can have your group of friends, you can have your game shops, your local game shops, but there really is nothing, I think, for the LGBTQIA plus gaming community as a whole that can celebrate what Pride is and what it means to be a gamer, aside from Twitch. Of course you can do things like Final Fantasy 14, obviously you can have an entire, they have entire Pride celebrations within that game. So yes, you can do things within specific games, but I think as looking forward as a platform, Twitch would be the place to go if I, were a streamer who was LGBTQIA. I obviously don't stream, we stream on HPCritical, but I don't stream personally. But if I did, I would want to go there and find my community. It's I think one of the only places to do so. So it's very reminiscent of what you said. It seems very disingenuous, because that's not what we're going to Twitch for, right? Great, it's a concert that you guys aren't even hosting. Great, you're doing stuff, across the pond that you're also not hosting. Great, you have content creators that I can find, but I've got to scroll through them. So the one place that I think really has the potential to become a community for LGBTQIA plus gamers is not doing that, or not allowing that to be done. And I wish that there was somewhere else that we could do those types of things. But you know, Twitch is just the big gaming sphere, and it just I mean, if you guys know of anything, please correct me if I'm wrong. If there's like another place that LGBT plus gamers can go to just be themselves and celebrate Pride, but I really think that's it. And so every year, this is just Twitch continually dropping the bomb for so many of its users and viewers and content creators.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna move on before I go into another impassioned speech. The State of Play and the Pokemon trailer happened last week. Yes, last week.
Yes.
Christy and I talked about it on a bonus episode of the HPCritical podcast. I don't want to go into it too much, but I do want to start by saying that it is Summer Game Fest. It is the beginning of Summer Games 2022. We are looking forward to a ton of games that are supposedly coming out within this year and next year. And there's a lot of stuff going on. I do want to talk about Capcom really quickly. So, Capcom is having their own showcase, and it is called the Capcom Showcase. It is a new live stream digital event bringing you the latest Capcom game information. It is going to be on June 13th, 3 p.m. PT for around 35 minutes of news and in-depth updates on previously announced Capcom titles. So, I know we've got Resident Evil, I know we've got Monster Hunter, I know we've got Street Fighter. How do you guys feel about Capcom now having their own 35-minute showcase? With no E3. Remember, there's no E3 this year.
Right. Go ahead, Chris.
Go ahead. Oh, okay. I'll go. I think Capcom has a lot to show. Personally, they have Reverse still that hasn't been released yet, and they could have fixed a few things of that game and could have made it a bit more appealing. With the extra time, like it's almost been a year, hasn't it, or something like that? So it'd be great to see that game and see if it is actually good. Like I would predict that it just gets shadow dropped during the day of the showcase. Mm-hmm. And then for Dragon's Dogma 2, I think would get shown as well, just because they have the 10th anniversary site up. They seem like they want to celebrate that, and they had the anime on Netflix recently, so it feels like that's a brand that they want to keep going with. So I think Dragon's Dogma 2 is going to be shown, and also it was leaked during the Capcom. I don't know, it was like a schedule of like games to be announced, and Dragon's Dogma 2 was one of them. So yeah, I think we'll see that. We could see another Phoenix Wright game.
Yes, please.
Yeah. You could see another Phoenix Wright game, like maybe just for the Switch this time, and it's not like a port of an old game, it's like something new. And then, Pragmata as well. I think we'll see some sort of gameplay for that. Oh my
god, I forgot about that game.
Yeah, so I think it'd be interesting to see what exactly it is, and it looks trippy, so I'm looking forward to seeing more.
It was delayed, wasn't it?
Yes, it was delayed into next year, so I feel like now it's in that realm of like maybe like a gameplay tease could be shown just to see what it's like.
Yeah, I mean they did show us a lot of their VR stuff. Resident Evil 8 in VR coming up. Yep. Resident Evil 4 remake we've seen. Only thing I hate about this, and I hate any company that does this, is when they only have like 30 to 35 minutes of stuff to show off. I literally hate that, because I feel like if you have something new and exciting to show, I don't want it in like a 5-minute reel. I want enough information to like whet my appetite that I know something great is coming up. I hate when Pokemon does it. They love doing like a 35-minute, like here's like the starters, and like we're gonna show them flashing really quickly and show you some box art. Okay, bye. I hate when companies make big announcements and only give us 30 minutes of information. I feel like it's never, for me, it's never enough. So if you're gonna go out, Capcom, give me an hour's worth of everything that Chris just mentioned, and I'll be happy. Don't give me 35 minutes of Resident Evil that I've already seen at the PlayStation Showcase.
We know. I think they just teased this today that Resident Evil 4 remake gameplay is going to be shown during the Capcom.
Great.
Showcase.
So I've got 35 minutes, and I'm just gonna.
You got 3 or 4 minutes of it. Yeah.
I don't want to see that. It's not exciting to me. Ugh. But yeah, I'll just watch and see. Brandon or Kelly, anything you're expecting from the Capcom Showcase or want to see or anything?
Well, I will say I'm very glad Chris spoke first because...
Sorry.
No, I'm actually very, very glad because before what I was going to say was like the idea of Capcom doing their own showcase. Like, here's the thing. Obviously, Capcom has a lot of IPs, a lot of projects, but my thinking until he spoke was like, but how many of those IPs are we expecting to come out in the forefront? Like, which ones do we expect to come now? And then he lifts it off a bunch of them that I didn't even consider. Like, I didn't even hear about the Dragon's Dogma 2 thing, and I was like, wow, that is a real possibility, and more than likely will actually be there. They confirmed Resident Evil 4. Like, there is a lot of potential stuff there. They also confirmed more Street Fighter 6 will be there as well. So we'll So we'll get that as well.
I'm sorry, you gave me 35 minutes. That's literally like 8 minutes already of things I've already seen.
And then Sunbreak is going to be there too. The Monster Hunter
that's
Rise
true.
expansion, yeah.
Great. There's the first 10 minutes.
Oh, I know Grayson's going to love that. But anyway, yeah, no, there's a lot that can be shown, but it's just a matter of how much. Because then again, it's only 35 minutes. And I wonder if something like if E3 had not been outright canceled, I wonder if a showcase like this would even happen, or if Capcom just taking advantage of the fact that E3 is not there to kind of like show off what they're working on, because we got those announcements at the State of Play. This is clearly more focused on what their stuff. Mm-hmm. I just wonder, like, how do I put this? Is it going to be like 35 minutes and like 10 something announcements, or is it going to be 35 minutes and like 3 or 4 announcements and just like extended amount of time on each of them? And that's I guess the biggest question. I just wonder how much new stuff is going to be shown, as well as just like trailers for like stuff we already know about that's just going to get it more gameplay. I'm just wondering how the balance is going to be. I think it'll be exciting either way, because there's some exciting stuff from Capcom on the horizon, but I'm just wondering how the balance is going to be. I would love some more Ace Attorney, please. That's probably
last year's wasn't that good though, so just keep that in mind. They did do one last year and it was terrible.
Yeah, no, last year's Capcom was not good. Yeah, I definitely remember that. And yet I still have hope that this one will be good. I don't know what's wrong with me, but here we'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. I also just love that they just called it the Capcom Showcase. Like, yeah, that's great. Just call it what it is. Like,
exactly.
No need to be extra.
Wasn't very creative.
In a world where so many companies are out here making like Nintendo Direct, State of Play, Stadia Connect, Sonic Central, they're just like, Capcom Showcase. Come watch. I'm like,
it's great. It's great. I will watch because it's exactly what it is. Thank you. I don't like all the extra stuff. I don't like when I'm writing an article about it and I gotta go look up what it's called. It's just called the Capcom Showcase. Thank you.
It's a little thing I'd like to see.
People either call it the company showcase or company direct or whatever. Very few people call these, like, I hear so many people call, I can't wait for the Sony Direct. I'm like, that's not what it's called, but I get it.
Right, I always say the PlayStation Direct all the time because like, that's just so easy. I'm just like, just make sure I don't type PlayStation Direct and I'll be fine. But I say it all the time.
Right.
I hope we also get a Mega Man Battle Network collection.
Please! Oh my god, yeah.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. Because I didn't like those games as a kid, but I want to give it another go.
Neither did I. I'd love to give it another go.
Art style.
I actually hate that I brought this up because now I feel like we've hyped up this Capcom Showcase of 35 minutes way more than it's going to be. I feel like I'm already just out-hyped myself.
I cannot wait for us to be disappointed in Capcom Showcase. I can't wait to be disappointed and talk about it in this podcast about how disappointed we are. Just started like this and just like
this is y'all fault. I wasn't expecting anything, and now you guys have my expectations up here. So like,
we can record another show after this so that I can blame you both. And then you can just blame me for it.
Kelly, I know that you like scary stuff. I don't know if you saw the PlayStation State of Play, but is there anything from Capcom that you'd like to see or would be interested in?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of blew their load at the, the State of Play for me for Capcom. Like, they got Resident Evil. That's literally it. I mean, yeah, I guess I would look at more of that. If they didn't announce a Resident Evil game of some kind, I would never watch a Capcom showcase.
What if Dead Rising comes back?
Dead Rising.
That series is just SOL. It's gone.
It hasn't been doing so well. 4 did not do that well.
I could see a remake happening, but maybe like 2 or 3 years and.
I do have one more story I want to talk about on Capcom, which I brought up because I just thought it was super cool, and I literally don't know how this is a thing that can happen. But Street Fighter 6 is going to feature a real-time commentary. So, in like the most mind-boggling magical thing I've ever heard, you will be able to, as you're playing the game, from my understanding, you will be able to get voices from prominent commentators in the Street Fighter FGC area. They will have, I assume, pre-recorded lines, and then they will be able to commentate your game in real time while you're playing. So essentially, like, if Brandon and I are playing Street Fighter 6, and we want real-time commentary to really make our game feel like we're, like, in the moment, that's a feature that can just be apparently turned on, and I thought that shit was so cool. And I had to talk about it on the podcast because, like, how does this work?
That's kind of dope because, I mean, sports video games have been doing that for a while, where they'll have, like, real, actual ESPN commentators just do, like, a bunch of pre-recorded lines and just have them do, like, pseudo, like, live commentary as you're playing the sport in question, which I never thought that would translate to a fighting game, much less one that's, like, a fictional fighting game like Street Fighter. The UFC games do that because, again, it's another realistic sports title. So, but I never would expect to do it for Street Fighter. It makes me wonder who they're gonna get to do the shoutcasters for this. Because
they do have a list of some people already.
Okay,
yeah.
Let me hear it. I want to hear a few. Doesn't have to be all of them.
I'm not gonna watch the video though.
It's not a video. Okay,
I'm not gonna watch the video.
That's fine.
I can tell you that the first commentators joining the program are Jeremy Vicious Lopez and Aru, and they will have some more people coming up as well. But one other thing I did want to mention about this is that the commentary feature will support subtitles in 13 languages for more accessibility, which is also like super dope. Like, that is really amazing.
Cool. Yeah.
I'm
excited about this.
Oh, sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
I haven't done podcasting for a while. I apologize.
No, you're good. Cut in whenever you do.
The best thing about the commentary, I think, is like the real time feedback of like how you can improve as a player.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
I'm just I'm really blown away by this. I was watching the Apple presentation, and they blew me away the other day. Did you guys see that WWDC 2022? No. So there's this thing. This is gonna be very short. There's this thing where you can put your phone on your MacBook, and then you can use the phone camera as your actual camera instead of the MacBook camera, which is great because the MacBook cameras suck shit. But the coolest part is that this wide lens camera on the bottom can somehow magically reflect down so that you can show it's like a top-down view while your camera is sitting like this, but it's not looking down, but it shows down, and it's really magic. I don't understand how it works. It's literal magic. And I will show you guys the video after this, because now you're all looking at me like I'm crazy. The shit is cool, okay? It's just really cool, and this is also really cool, and I'm excited for really cool technology things. Anyway, Sony says...
Hold on. Before you move on, I just want to say one last thing about Street Fighter 6 specifically.
Sorry, yeah.
I do like that this game is going a long way to be more accessible. We talked about all the different languages that you'll be able to have for the subtitles. We talked about, the feedback improving your game in real time. And I also heard that for doing the special moves that they also have both a classic and a modern setup, where if you play classic, you get to do the classic quarter circles or the charge motions to do your specials, or you can just do the modern where it has just R2 and triangle or something like that if you're playing a PlayStation controller. That's super dope.
I prefer that. Yeah,
I think that's what I'm going to do, because during the times where I try to get really good at 5, I was getting the quarter circles down, but so many of those other motions were so difficult for me that I was finding it difficult to really get into the game, and I was But this sounds really good. It allows a lower barrier of entry, and then people could just focus more on the the fundamentals and just the nitty gritty of the stuff without having to worry about if they did their motion correctly. I think that's a very good thing. It can only help the industry get more people into the game, the genre, which I think that's a good thing.
I don't know if you know this, but Street Fighter 5 never had an arcade mode. Well, it did have an arcade mode further on, but when it launched, it did not have one. But
I
with Street Fighter 6, they'll have one. So that's
much shit, and I will continue to talk so much shit about the launch of Street Fighter 5.
yeah,
It was the
awful.
worst. The game was not done. Like, there was nothing in that game. Like, they literally launched a $60 title with nothing in it. Like, it was bare bones as shit. It was horrible. It looks like they've learned their lesson, but I can't believe Capcom allowed that to happen. But anyway, yeah, so PlayStation 5 sales have surpassed 20 million worldwide.
Ooh.
Nobody cares. All right, cool. Moving on. Then. I thought it was a good metric.
Sonny's getting richer.
Oh, fair point. So moving on, then I had Jeff Keighley. That's his name. Yes.
Yeah.
Jeff Keighley has urged viewers to manage their expectations ahead of this week's Summer Game Fest show, which he said will be primarily focused on announced games. That's from VGCnews.com.
So what you're saying, Jeff Keighley, is we're not going to have a lot of world premieres.
I mean, so here's the thing. PlayStation is always like, Sony's always just like, hey, we're just going to show third-party stuff. It's going to be really small. Don't expect anything big. And then they throw Street Fighter 6 and Final Fantasy 16 in
Which
the
are
same...
third-party, to be fair.
But they're huge.
They
is
are
my
huge,
point.
yes.
Like they're like, oh no, we're not gonna focus on big games, and then they throw in really big games and get everyone excited.
I don't know, but did they ever say they're not going to do big games? I just heard third-party and VR too.
We literally had a... I'm actually not going to look it up now. Point being, the language makes it seem as if they're like, yeah, don't be excited. This is going to be very, like, simple. And I know that because all of Twitter also said the same thing. Every time I mentioned something, the response was always just like, hey, they said VR stuff and third-party titles, so calm down.
I think it's smart.
Yes, so that's where I'm going with this. Like, is this Jeff Keighley's way of, like, is he serious? He's really just like, look, don't expect much. There's not much coming up, or are we gonna get like a PlayStation reaction?
I think, honestly, I think it's smart for him to manage the expectations because, he did say it's going to focus mostly on announced games. And obviously that means there are going to be some, like, world premieres in there, like, actually, though, in addition to the announced stuff. But, I think it's smart because, if you don't tell people that, they're going to complain that they are seeing more of this game that's already been announced and I'm legitimately upset that it's not like, I don't know how long the presentation, let's say 30 minutes. 30 minutes of not just world premiere.
I think 2 hours. Yeah,
2 hours, thank you. I didn't know the exact number, but thank you. Yeah, so 2 hours of... People will go in expecting 2 hours of world premieres. I'm like, bro, there's not 2 hours worth of games coming out this year, even for all the platforms. So, I think it's smart. I think it is smart. What's up?
Nothing.
I was just gonna say, no, I think it's smart. It'll, people will expectations be managed, and that means when the world premieres do come, hopefully they're hype. That's all we can say. Just Summer Games Fest has improved little by little over each year. That first one was garbage, but it's gotten a little better each time. Last year's was the one where the Elden Ring big trailer was there, and that was big. So, hopefully we'll see something like that as well.
I think we could get like DLC announcements, perhaps, like for Elden Ring or like current
true.
stuff. When like, so I think it's smart of him to temper expectations because if you do really well, you're going to overwhelm their expectations. Then they're going to talk so much good stuff about Summer Game Fest, right? But there are a few things, new reveals that are like rumbling in the rumor space. Like I've heard there's going to be like a Crash Bandicoot Smash Brothers like game that's 3D.
Okay.
Yay, we need another one of those.
So, it'd be nice to see Crash back and maybe Spyro. I don't know. But
and that's literally it. Like, who else?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Chris. I feel like I'm shitting on what you're saying. It's not you.
I would not lie. I won't lie. If they did like a platform fighter with like specifically like not like I mean obviously they did with PlayStation All Stars, but if they did like specifically focus on like I guess mascot characters, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Captain Price.
I don't know who that is.
If I'm Call of Duty.
Oh no! Yeah, there we go.
No, no, no,
There we go. Chris said it. Just do PlayStation All Stars 2. That's what he wants.
Well, the only thing I will say is that I'm about to contradict myself because I know I said that I get mad at like companies that only do 35 minutes because I do, but I also don't want to watch 2 hours of this either. Can it just be like an hour?
Hours nice.
Can it be like,
I actually
I don't want to
in
watch 2
my
hours.
personal opinion for a game announcement thing, at the neighborhood of 45 minutes to an hour 15 is like my sweet spot. I feel.
Okay. That's actually a great question. Like, how long would you guys watch a show like this if
2
you
hours.
weren't going to, like, if you weren't going to do any coverage, like you were just interested, but you knew that it was not going to be something with like big announcements? How much time would you set aside for it? Would you do the full 2 hours?
2 hours is a lot. It is a lot for it's a lot. Here's why I think it's a lot specifically, not just because of the time length. It's because of what I think will be shown. Because with 2 hours again, and the fact that he said it's going to be mostly announced games, there's no way that's going to be just like that many amount of trailers. It's going to be like, I would think like 10 to 15 minute deep dives on announced games that people want to know about. I'm almost envisioning it as like Nintendo Treehouse. Just like in smaller bursts, because Treehouse, is like pretty much like 15 to 30 minutes on this specific game. I'm expecting that in kind of like a smaller scale, but throughout the 2 hours. So that's a lot of time. I would almost just rather just like know what games are announcing. It's like, okay, I'm interested in this game. I'll watch 15 minutes or 30 minutes of gameplay.
Yes.
But then if you don't know what they're showing, then you're just sitting watching gameplay of this game that you personally don't care about. It's like, all right, what's the next announcement? So I got things to do. What's we doing? So that's I think an important distinction. It's like a blind treehouse is not what I want. But if we're doing, but regarding to your question about like what's the amount of time, like I said, 45 minutes to an hour and 15. If it's actually announcements, I think is perfectly acceptable.
Do you know how many times I have watched these things, and Gabe will attest to this, and I'm just like, this could have been a tweet, and this was so unnecessary to be put in this presentation. A lot of times that happens, and I feel like 2 hours is just, I'm hoping it's not filler, but it sounds like there's going to be quite a bit of filler in there.
I think they will.
But, this is just me being pessimistic. Maybe I'll watch it and love every single game that's shown. Who knows?
To me, like, I hope they fill that space with lots of cool indies, perhaps, like actual interesting trailers or interesting live like looks at this kind of stuff. Because I feel like those are some of the best games that have been released recently, like the indie titles, because as every game goes open world and becomes a little bit less inspirational, I guess.
Sure.
But yeah, like I'm hoping Summer Game Fest is a success. I hope we get a lot of good stuff, like gameplay. Like, I think he said there's going to be a focus on gameplay, so we'll probably see like
it's going to be what I just said it was.
Yeah, rather than CG, and I kind of prefer that. Like,
no, that's
but
true.
like,
That's
if
true.
we saw like Star Wars Jedi Survivor or Final Fantasy 16, those kind of games like Street Fighter 6, I think it could be a success if they choose the right games. Like, I'm just not looking forward to seeing Vin Diesel in Arc 2. I'll say that.
I wish that they had, and this I know is not going to happen, but since we're talking about wish lists, I wish that they had Black voices in gaming there, and Latinos in gaming, or is it Latinx in gaming, and a whole like LGBT like pride section. If they were gonna do something like that, like I wish they had indies, and then I wish they had like spotlights, because you're gonna have a lot of people watching this, and I think that's such a great opportunity to not only talk about the big games, but like you did mention, Chris, like the indie titles, but also everything in between. I watched Black Voices in Gaming today. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, I watched the Black Voices in Gaming today, and it was awesome just seeing these creators making these indie games that look so good. And I don't think it was at the top of Twitch today, but things like that I think really deserve that kind of boost, because they're going to be providing opportunities for games that we haven't seen before. I talked specifically about how excited I am for Final Fantasy 16, but also how there are more black people in Pokemon than there are in Final Fantasy 16, which is so disappointing to me.
Yeah.
So it's just it comes to a point where, you know, you kind of, I guess it's 2022 and it's still hard to see yourself represented sometimes in video games for certain demographics. So I really would love to see something where, you know, we got pushed to the forefront. Different marginalized groups got pushed to the forefront, right? It's Pride Month. Have a gay parade, Jeff Keighley. What are you doing? I want to see all the gays on stage. What are you doing? No, I'm just... that was a joke. He doesn't have to do that. But yeah, I would just really love to see something like that. Something that really gives... an open stage with that presence to be able to boost up those marginalized voices and also those indies that we get to see. I actually like Stray is going to be great. I want to play as a cat forever. Why did it take so long for someone to make this game? You know, like games like everything shown usually at the Nintendo Directs, they all look really, really good. Gonna move on unless anyone has any more last minute comments on that one. So Anime Expo is coming up. And recently they've been getting a little bit of flack because they have updated their COVID-19 health and safety protocols. And while face coverings will still be required inside the LACC, we will no longer be requiring proof of vaccination or a negative test for entry. Yeah. This is a tweet from Anime Expo. Previously, to be able to attend, you had to have proof of vaccination or a negative test to enter, as well as you were required to wear a mask. They are now not keeping the requirement of a negative test or proof of vaccination. And some people are hoping to get their money back after this. Some people are happy now that that banner is what do you call that? That whatever is lifted so that they can go forward. How do you guys feel this company is handling the situation? Like, if you had passes to go, what would you do? How do you feel about this current situation here?
Given that it's a pretty packed convention, there's been a few anime conventions this year, and I've been hearing just stories about people who are still getting COVID as a result of it. So, the Anime Expo being like, just masks are okay. It's just like, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are fine with that, but I think there's a lot more people that are not because, you know, if you're going to like something that's like this packed with so many people, it's hard to feel safe about these kind of things. And if you waive like a certain restriction on certain people, it's just going to make a lot of people feel unsafe. And I think that's the main reason why so many people are requesting the refunds, because now an event that they thought was going to be safe is now not going to be so safe. There's a lot of people who can't, you know, if they catch COVID, it's going to be a serious problem for them. I will also add that I follow a lot of anime voice actors on Twitter, and I notice a lot of them are like kind of taking a stand to it. One voice actor just straight up says, "Well, I'm not going now. They're not going to have my and then another voice actor was he's been just like retweeting and commenting on the initial post, begging them to reconsider because he would love to go, but he doesn't like these conditions. So I've seen a lot of like very strong stances on the against this, and you know, good on them. I think for the mental and physical well-being of people going to such an event, I just think it might be premature. But that's just my thoughts on it.
I just think the worst part is the way they decided to do this. It's like you already got all these people to buy their tickets assuming that there's going to be proof of vaccination or negative test, and then like you're just going to tweet out, "Oh, so we're taking it back. Just kidding. Anyone can go now. You just need a mask." Like that is not how you handle this type of situation. I think that's probably the worst part about it, just the way that they've gone about the situation.
For sure.
I'll think of the other side though. Like, when do you think these restrictions should lift? You know, should it be in a year? Should it be in 2 years? Like, what do you think about that?
I don't think that there's a time limit on lifting restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
I think that honestly, I think that you just have to be upfront. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be complaining about the story at all if from the beginning they said, only thing that we require are masks. Like, that's fine. Then people have that decision to go, right? Like,
Right.
if COVID were not...
Yeah.
first of all, like, COVID is still an issue.
It is. Yeah.
We're literally on the rise again, so it's still an issue. So I personally think that keeping these restrictions in play is just healthy for everyone. So I don't think
agree.
that there should ever be, until we're at a point where we don't have to worry about COVID like every day, then I personally think leave these restrictions. However, if they're not there, that's fine, but that gives people the choice to, determine
Exactly.
whether they want to go or not. And I think that's the real issue with this situation. So I don't know that there's for me specifically, like, I don't know that there's a timeline that they should ever be lifted.
I agree with you. Yeah, I was just thinking devil's advocate. It's like, yeah, when do you think it's gonna end? But yeah,
never at this point, because like
yeah,
that's
true.
when this happens.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
how many of your friends did you see come back from PAX and then post a tweet saying, "Hey, I got COVID, so check yourself," right? Like, that happened. Unfortunately, we didn't get to go, but like, I just saw that on my timeline. And I'm like, holy shit! Like, that is a serious deal for some people. And so just doing this at the back end is kind of just like a fuck you to everyone pretty much who wants to be safe.
Yeah, like, if they don't get their money back, that's just atrocious.
Kelly, what about you? I haven't heard from you. How do you feel about this?
I mean, I think I agree with Jarrell, just because it's like, you bought your tickets, hopefully you can get a refund. They changed like the rules about what was going to be happening there. Yeah, most people that I know that went to any con or anything have gotten COVID. My parents have COVID right now. Like,
Sorry.
they're not vaccinated though. Like, they just refuse. So fine. Suffer. Okay. Like, but I wouldn't want them to change the rules. But to be honest, at the same time, like, even with all the restrictions, you're still not safe. So even with all of that, you might still get COVID, even if with proof of vaccine, whatever, you might still get it, and masks. And then they just take away, like, even like the littlest precaution. Like, so you just want people to get COVID? I don't know. It's like, I don't know. Like I said, even with everything, you were still at risk, and now they just take away another layer of security for people. I don't know. I have a concert planned in the end of September, and please, I want to go. Everyone get vaccinated and wear your mask. I'm so sick of this. If I don't see My Chemical Romance, I'm gonna die. All right.
But that's the thing, right? When you purchase these tickets to go, did they tell you up front, like, whether it was going to be something that you need to have proof of vaccination for, or was that just not mentioned at all?
Outside, so I don't think that.
Okay.
I mean, it's a public space. I mean, I'd probably still wear a mask, but like, it's outside. I don't think that you can really restrict outside, right? Like, I don't. Maybe, I'm not sure, but no, I don't know if that was laid out. Actually, I'm vaccinated, so I really don't give a shit. I got my proof.
I went to a Final Fantasy concert with this guy who wanted to date me, who's probably watching. I'm sorry it didn't work out. You're a sweet guy. And we like drove there for like 2 hours. It was 2 hours away. We drove there. Horrible decision. Do not drive with a stranger for 2 hours. Well, he wasn't a stranger. Whatever. We drove there, and when we got there, he was like, "Oh, do you have your proof of vaccination?" And I was like, "Bitch, why the fuck did you not ask me this 2 hours ago before we left?" Like I do, but like, you should really be upfront with these types of things. Yes, Kelly, your face was my face when he asked me as we parked. And if you're listening to this, I apologize that I'm talking shit. But like, you really should have asked me beforehand. But I was smart enough to bring it with me, right? Because it was like a concert, so it was like an enclosed space. But I bring that up to say, even during that concert, like when he purchased the tickets, I went back. There was nothing to say like it's one way or the other, right? There is no like proof of a negative test or proof of vaccination, or there wasn't even a thing about wearing masks like on the website when you purchase it. And so it's really strange for Anime Expo to be so upfront with the rules when other people are not, and then just like backtrack. Like that to me is that's such a bad look, because most places I think are not very upfront at this point that we are in, like with the pandemic. Most people are not upfront, right? Like if you go on a website, you're gonna have to like scroll to see what their mask mandate is. Like it's not as prevalent on these web pages as it used to be. So I think for them to be so upfront and out about it and then just back away is kind of silly. Like, what do you think is gonna happen? Aside from lots of people asking for... Oh, well, I guess if more people would rather not be restricted, then I guess that's how you make your money. So maybe I'm wrong.
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe they just didn't have enough attendees. So.
Yeah, so they want more people, and they're like, all right, drop the restrictions. We'll make more money this way. So maybe...
Worse off for that, in my opinion.
Maybe that's that. So I'm going to go back to some gay stuff because it's Pride. Yay! Kevin Conroy... he had a coming out story in DC. Kevin Conroy's DC Pride story is DC's most important comic in years. This is from Screen Rant, written by Liam McGuire. Legendary Batman voice actor Kevin Conroy is telling a touching personal story about being a gay man in one of the most important DC comic stories in years. In this week's DC Pride 2022 #1, the actor, best known for voicing Batman in the Batman the Animated Series, and numerous other DC animated films, video games, and television series, wrote an incredibly moving, must-read story about self-discovery. When it comes to superhero voice actors, Kevin Conroy is among the most iconic and recognizable voices in the industry. The New York-born actor became the main voice of Batman, the Batman animated series in the early 90s, while continuing to voice the character in Batman Beyond, Justice League Unlimited, and DC animated films to this day. He also appeared as Bruce Wayne of Earth 99 in live action during the Arrowverse's Crisis on Infinity Earths crossover. Conroy is in the same league as Adam West and Michael Keaton regarding Batman's best portrayals. And his take on The Dark Knight is definitive Batman for many. So basically, he has this. Actually, I'll go ahead and read this because it can explain it better than I can. As part of this week's DC Pride 2022 #1 anthology, Kevin Conroy wrote an incredibly personal story called Finding Batman, alongside artist Jay Bone and letterer Aditya Bidikar, revealing how finding Batman was a turning point in his life and identity. Conroy admits to putting on his own mask growing up in a devoutly Christian and troubled family, hiding that he was gay in his public life for decades. He recounts living through the HIV/AIDS epidemic in the 80s, watching his close friends die, and being called slurs by fellow actors and producers. Conroy struggled with doubts about himself and his career for decades until getting a call about a voice role for Batman the Animated Series. He writes that he related to Batman and what Bruce Wayne saw in Crime Alley with his parents, as he'd seen his father lying drunk in a pool of blood after he hurt himself during his childhood. Conroy asked if he had too many compromises in his public versus private persona as a gay man, which he related to Batman's struggles with his own dual life. As Conroy beautifully puts it, 30 years of frustration, confusion, denial, love, yearning for a sense of safety and identity was something he related to, as it helped him form the voice that would become Batman. He felt Batman rising from deep within. And then he also went on to post this really beautiful, video talking about the positive reception of people after they had read this comic. And I wanted to bring it up because I think it's such an awesome, moving moment to be allowed to tell this type of story in comic book form, right? Like, you have the artists, you have the letterers that are putting out this piece that's so personal that he was allowed to share, and then be able to come back and get that positive reception. So shout out to you, Kevin Conroy. You're my Batman. My only Batman. Just talking shit. Anyway, yeah, so he did that. It's great. You should check it out if you get the opportunity. If anybody wants to comment on this, please feel free to do so before I move on.
I think that's I honestly, before you introduced the story, I didn't even realize that Kevin Conroy was gay. But you introducing this story, but after you introduce the story, him putting his personal life as the dual identity he had to adopt in real life to the character of Batman who deals with that, of that dual identity, it explains a lot. He is considered one of the best Batmen for a reason. they keep calling him. Like he did it. He did it in the animated series and the Justice League cartoon. But then
And multiverses.
And multiverses. And he just keeps getting the Batman role in like all these different animated things. There's like his resume as Batman is quite extensive at this point, and he's earned it. He just has the perfect voice. He has the perfect portrayal. He understands the character very well, and now I understand why. And I think it's both tragic, but it's also beautiful at the same time in the way that he has approached this character. You know, a lot of acting stems from personal experience as well, and the closer you can relate to that character in your own personal life, however that may be, it fuels your performance. And you know, he's done a fantastic job with it. I respect him all the more now, honestly, and I already had quite a great big respect for him before.
Yeah, you guys should definitely watch that video of him just being so happy about the reception. Brandon, did you just say Batman is gay?
I said Kevin Conroy is gay, which I didn't know before the stream.
It was a joke.
Okay.
That apparently was really bad, so never mind. All right, well, and because I'm very bad at jokes, I'm gonna go ahead and move on. That was pretty embarrassing. So happy Pride Month, as I mentioned before. I said it, and you know who else said it? FaZe Clan. FaZe Clan tweeted on June 1st alongside a rainbow-colored version of their group's logo, Happy Pride Month, sending love to our LGBTQ plus friends, family, and community. Some fans immediately cheered the sentiment on, but plenty of others disparaged it, sharing sentiments that veered from another L from FaZe Clan into more explicit homophobia. This is from Kotaku.com, written by Ian Gack. Oh my god, so there's a Kotaku article that I can't talk about because I think it's been pulled. And the author on Twitter also deleted his tweet about it, so I couldn't even, like, show you guys. Never mind. I'll tell you after the podcast because I can't talk about it because it's gone. Anyway, yeah, so they tweeted Happy Pride Month, and lots of people were just like, okay, FaZe Clan, take the L. This is like, and much more homophobic things. And one of the members of FaZe Clan, whose name is Talal Virus Al-Malki, said that he doesn't support any kind of LGBTQ plus or anything on his Twitter as a response to what FaZe Clan posted. And the reason that he did this is because he said in his religion, they don't believe in that. So I'll give you actually his proper quote because I don't want to misquote anyone. He quote tweeted the Happy Pride Month tweet from FaZe Clan and said, "Just to clarify that I don't support any kind of LGBTQ or anything similar, even if FaZe does. I'm a Muslim." That was his tweet. So, first of all, my first question to you guys is, how do you feel about companies posting Happy Pride Month in general, despite the beliefs of the people underneath that company? Do you think it should be accepted? Do you think they should confer first with the team of members? How do you feel companies should go forward with something like this?
Well, we've just talked about in the past, like, you know, how when a company does, like, something like to say Happy Pride Month and then change their banner or whatnot and make a statement, we've talked very cynically about how, like, maybe it's something that they don't necessarily believe in, or all of the necessarily believe in is just like very theatrical performal, but it's like a performance essentially. That being said, in this case, you know, FaZe made the statement, and clearly not everybody in the FaZe group was on board with it, but they did it anyway. And that certainly gives me mixed emotions because, on the one hand, they stood their ground and made a statement, even knowing they had people that would have opposed it. On the other hand, the fact that this is not a united front for them makes it really seem more like a performance than anything else. Honestly, I'm kind of torn. It's honestly, I'm kind of torn on it because here's the thing: performers or not, I think it's proper that Pride Month is celebrated because, you know, I think it's important that the community gets this spotlight on this important month. But at the same time, it's hard to not look at the company with an eye and be like, do you really mean it though, or are you just, you know, you're just trying to, you know, go the times. It's, I don't know, man. at the end of the day, I'd rather they make any of them make a statement rather than none. It's just, it's like how companies be, man. It's just like there's always just like a little bit of like nastiness underneath the nice message. It's just the way it is.
I don't know that I necessarily agree with you, because just from my own experience, there is someone who wrote at HPCritical for a little bit, and we had very differing views on situations, I will say, in general, that went from personal to political. And so, of course, I am going to post because I do believe in like LGBT stuff. I will post about LGBT stuff. That doesn't mean necessarily that they also believe in that. So that doesn't mean that I don't, right? Like me as the head of this company, like I do believe that. And so I do want to support and I do post it. That doesn't mean that every person that is writing at HPCritical is going to agree with what I have to say or every statement that I put out. So I don't, there's no way to tell. But I don't know. Maybe FaZe Clan is just like, hey, we do support our LGBT members, because there are LGBTQIA plus members in FaZe Clan who have, commented on this. So like maybe it's to support them, you never know. I don't know whether it is real or not, but sure. Yeah, that's my response to what you said.
Well, to be clear, I want to just clarify. When I say that a company or any kind of corporation is saying is celebrating Pride, I'm not necessarily saying they're lying. I'm not saying that at all. They could 100% believe what they're saying. I'm just saying that for two things. One, in the case of FaZe Clan, obviously it's not a united front. There's a lot of people in the FaZe Clan who are of the community and fully support the message, or just allies and also support the message. But obviously we have some outliers there. And I think that's going to happen in any kind of large corporation that's like pushing. There's always going to be outliers that don't support the message, but they're wrong. Let's just put it out there. So, I don't think the overall company is lying. I just think that, one is that there's outliers, and two, that sometimes when the message, depending on the corporation, some corporations I think are genuine about it, but some I think put out the message just as like a PR thing more than actually believing in the message,
So my question is, do you think that companies should then do this or not? Like, if everyone under their banner doesn't agree, do you think they should still put out a general statement of support?
I think they should. That ultimately, despite everything I said, I think they absolutely should.
Okay.
I think it spreads the message, honestly. It's a good thing, but like if it's just a plain Jane kind of message, then it feels a little less sincere. Like maybe just a donation to an LGBT charity like the Trevor Project or something like that as well would go a long way. I don't know, just spreading the message, like, and then doing something about it as well to help representation and LGBT issues. That's a good thing.
What about you, Kelly?
So, yeah, I mean, I guess that a lot of the stuff that companies do is performative. Like, if you look at, like, everyone changes their, sorry, can you hear that? My cat's feeder is going on. Okay, sorry. Okay, I think it's done. Sorry. So I think that a lot of companies will do this. I don't necessarily think that, I think that there's a way as a company to kind of show your support. And, like, you have to have a social media presence. So you have to like post something on social media. I don't know if that's all they did because I haven't looked into it.
There's no winning scenario in this point.
Either way, no matter how this turns out, FaZe will not be.
It's going to upset people. Yeah.
Worth it. Thank you, Brandon. That was worth it.
He's been sitting on that one for a while.
He's been waiting for us to shut up so he can say it. So now let's talk about EA, guys. EA.
Let's talk about EA.
Wow. Oh my god. I don't know what's going on anymore. So this is an article also from Kotaku.com written by Ethan Gack again. Vince Zampella, Respawn Entertainment general manager and head of some of Electronic Arts' biggest franchises, spoke out on Twitter in defense of transgender rights ahead of the start of Pride Month on June 1st. Kotaku has learned that this rare display comes after an internal roundtable discussion earlier today, in which executives at the FIFA maker once again faced questions from employees about its relative silence on these issues. Quote, trans rights are humans' rights, Sembella tweeted on Tuesday. It is as simple as that. Respawn has grown on the principles of diversity, equality, and inclusion and strives to uphold those values. Let's be better humans. As of this, from the 3rd of this month, EA has now joined Zempella, BioWare, and others in directly speaking out on transgender rights and women's rights following continued pressure from employees. Quote, I want to acknowledge the pain and fear that our LGBTQ+, specifically our transgender community, is experiencing in light of emerging legislation in the US and ongoing attacks on their human rights. Chief People Officer Malice Singh wrote in a new blog post. As a company, we are united that trans rights are humans' rights, women's rights are humans' rights, our support is unwavering for our people, our players, and our LGBTQ+ communities. She said the company will donate and make a 2-to-1 match of employee contributions to organizations like Human Rights Campaign and National Center for Transgender Equality to fight discriminatory laws and policies introduced in Texas and elsewhere. So I brought this up specifically because here's another case of someone speaking out in support of something, and in the opposite of FaZe Clan, this company just didn't say shit. Like EA was just that person that works for us is totally out there saying some stuff. And we aren't going to say anything about it until eventually they were pressured into making a statement. And finally they did. And that just goes back, to our conversation of, is it genuine? Is this really something that you wanted to say? Any comments on this one? Oh, also, before I go on to that, EA employees were actually going to have a walkout as a statement supporting transgender and women's rights. And that walkout was canceled because EA finally said something. Now, did they finally say something because they didn't want to walk out? Who knows? But that's the story. How are we feeling about that one?
Yeah, did they only say something because they were being held hostage of a walkout or something?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
The timing of it really makes it seem like not genuine to me.
Their walkout was planned for June 3rd. It didn't happen after the company finally issued their public statement on June 3rd.
Yeah.
So they were like, oh shit, today's the walkout date, guys. Post something about trans rights. Hurry. Tell them we'll donate. Hurry. Before the walkout starts. And
quick,
then
they're walking to the door. Quick, finish the tweet. Finish the tweet. I don't care about the typo. Finish it.
It's like, also, let me just read you guys the what they posted. It says, as a company, we are united that trans rights are humans' rights, women's rights are humans' rights. Our support is unwavering for our people, our players, and our LGBT+ communities, Electronic Arts.
Unwavering.
It was totally wavering until they were going to walk out. And then it was like, oh, shit. It's unwavering now, guys. We care. And they do have a link there that has a post from her, but I will not read it here because it's long. Like, if you'd like to read it, it's on their Twitter. But like, is it worth reading? Who knows at this point? Because like, who believes them at this point? Not I. Anything on that before I move on?
Send me Phil.
Okie dokie, we're running out of time, so I'm gonna rush through some things really quick. Nickelodeon's All-Star Brawl. That game that came out that everyone said sucked. Just kidding. I don't know if it. I was just kidding. I don't know. I feel like it did. I personally feel like it sucked. When did it come out?
Ooh, I don't even remember. It was like late last year, I want to say.
October, wasn't it?
Sounds
was it October?
right. Sounds right.
So sure. So the game came out in October. It was the first fighting game that I can think of in a while or at all that came out with zero voice acting. It was very weird because if you've seen any gameplay of it, it's literally like Nickelodeon characters like Sandy, Zim, SpongeBob, Patrick, CatDog, Cora, Lucy Loud, Garfield, Ren and Stimpy, Danny Phantom, all fighting each other in silence. There was ambient noise, from, the punches and kicks and the, environment, etc. But, all these very known Nickelodeon characters with very prominent voices were fighting in silence, and it was the weirdest thing to watch. Just go back and watch a video of the fight if you don't believe me. It's so strange. It is very awkward. It's not good. Well, good news! Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl has voice acting now! Yay!
Yay!
And not only do they have voice acting, they also have items.
Yeah.
So now the game that was incomplete is starting to get complete. Yay!
Well, let me just
later.
let me just say this real quick in regards to this game. I'm gonna just be real. I watched a few Nickelodeon cartoons, but I was never like a huge Nickelodeon guy. So this game was like, oh, okay, just smash like with Nickelodeon characters, and then people started saying, oh, it has like the devs that like really like the competitive scene in it. Okay, so maybe it might be good. Then it came out, and like a lot of this game's marketing has been specifically focused on people that like Super Smash Bros. Melee specifically. That community, not just like Smash in general, but specifically like platform fighter, but very competitive. So the game came out, and a lot of people didn't like the game because it was that very hyper competitive. It didn't feel like a casual game at all, despite it having Nickelodeon characters in it. So that's, I think, where the main divide came in. That it just didn't feel like it didn't feel casual enough. And then, of course, the fact that that game had barely any budget, despite the excluding the gameplay.
Yeah, with the budget they have, I still think they did a pretty good job with the animations and stuff, and the stages. Yeah,
sure.
But,
yeah,
I agree.
So I'm happy that this game finally got voice acting and items. That goes a long way into making this game appeal more to casual players than what the initial marketing did, where it was like very competitive focused. It's so weird that they went so hard in the competitive direction for this game, knowing that it had like all these Nickelodeon characters that it would mostly appeal to. I feel like kids, but I guess they really wanted to get some of that competitive fighting game blood in there. Either way, this game still doesn't really interest me that much, but you know what? It doesn't really matter, and I'll tell you why it doesn't matter. Because around the same time that this voice acting update got dropped in the game for free, it is also out on PS Plus. I have downloaded it. I will. It's brilliant. At least on the PlayStation side, there will be a lot more people at least trying the game now. Maybe they'll buy the DLC and they'll get a little money that way. So you know what? I think it's ingenious. Like, I was not willing to spend money in this game, but it's free, so you know what? I'm going to try it. I'll see if I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I tried playing this 2 or 3 weeks ago online. No one. As soon as I played it after PlayStation Plus, instant.
Yeah!
Instant connection.
Yep.
Every time.
Uh-huh.
So it's awesome.
Oh, what a waste of money.
Waste of money?
I don't know.
Yeah, not you. No, I'm sorry. Not you. I mean, like, what a waste of money for this company, because, like,
I don't know.
I don't think so. I think
it did well.
Yeah.
It did well.
Let me go look at that. I believe you. I'm not going to look now. I believe you. If you say it did well, I believe you.
I think it did well for the budget they had.
As far as I heard, people bought it and never played it again.
Right.
So,
that's what happened. Like people bought it and just didn't play
money.
it. Yeah.
Well, good for them. So we were speaking a little bit earlier about conventions. So E3 will return in 2023 as a physical and digital show. Yay!
Yes!
So you can all come see us all at E3. Yay!
I really hope we can make that happen. I really want that to happen. I hope we can. It would be my first E3 if it was.
Yeah, same. I really hope they bring it back.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, because we have this situation where we have Summer Game Fest, IGN covering summer games their own way, we've got Capcom Showcase, we've got Nintendo Direct, we've got PlayStation State of Play, everybody's got their own thing now. Do you guys feel like, a physical E3 is going to be good for the community? Are you excited? Well, I know you're excited. But, like, are there any general feelings about it based on what we have so far?
I feel like E3 is... like, it's supposed to be a trade event, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So, like developers pitching their ideas to game publishers, that's important, and that's been missing for the last 2 years. Now people can just start talking to each other again, and I think that's a very important element of the industry we should keep in mind. But also, like, I can't wait to meet the developers, do interviews, and publish previews and stuff like that. That does go a long way to marketing a game.
Yeah.
So, like, I think it's good for PR. It's good for journalists. But I don't think it's a place where regular people should go to. I don't think that's the place. I think it's PAX that people should go to, not E3.
Interesting.
I don't know. There should be like a developer focused event, like and like the media interacting with those people, because GDC, I've heard media interaction is kind of weird, So E3 is the only place where like you can actually have people who write for a living talking to the game developers. And I feel like I tried doing that at PAX, and what happened was, like, it's my first PAX East, right? First PAX ever. And I I scheduled a bunch of like appointments and stuff, and it was so awkward because what they do is they skip the line. You skip the line, so you have a bunch of people in front of you. It's so awkward because like now you're playing in front of like 50 people. It's not fair, is it? And it's awkward. It feels like, and in some cases, I won't mention the company, but they only put me on one game, and then they just left me, with nothing. I've done that one game. So yeah, it can be awkward. Some press, some PR companies do have like a back area, but most of the time, like 90% of the time, it was usually that putting you in front of the line.
Well, what I will say about E3 is that the show floor is separate from the company presentations. So if you are like, I don't think it should necessarily be like separated just for press in that sense, because like anyone can go to like PlayStation. Like if PlayStation's at E3, anyone can go to the theater and like watch that presentation. That's super dope. But with E3, or at least how it used to be, there is definitely you do have like an assigned time. I did some interviews there, and we would like, I think there were like 4 or 5 of us at a time sometimes, and so like you would go, and then just us press would sit down, and like we would have a conversation with the developers, and like we'd talk to them, and it was really cool because like you do have people that like around you, being able to, like, if I don't ask a question and like Chris is there, he might ask a question that I didn't think about, and so the way that it's handled, I do think, is very different from PAX, because also PAX's entry fee is way less than E3's, if I remember correctly as well. Like, I don't know who's shelling out, thousands of dollars for a ticket to E3, because that's
some people would.
I mean, I know people did, but that, if you're paying $1,000, I do feel like you should get up in there with me. Shit, you paid way more than I did. Like, do what you want, buddy. But yeah, you're not wrong. It is definitely neat, and I know that you guys are excited for it, so I guess I can just move on with that one.
Well, I was going to say as well regarding the E3, like coming back physical, digital. It's very telling that they made this announcement here in June, on the eve of when E3 would be starting normally, and we have Summer Games Fest starting in its place essentially. I think it's an important timing of the message, really, because I think between this year of E3 not happening at all, last year where it was digital only, and the year before that just not at all, a lot of people were calling for E3's doom and gloom, just saying that it may just never come back, it just may be dead. And the ESA is out here saying like, no, we ain't done yet, we're coming back next year. It is anyone's guess at how well it will do next year, but I think they want to make it very clear that it's not going to go away for good, and I think that's why they did it now. Especially around this time when people are really missing E3 and just watching whatever else they can get instead, letting them know that it's coming back. I don't know if this will necessarily save E3 in the long run, but at least it's not. at least its execution has been stayed, at least for a little longer. If that's the future that we're expecting for the presentation. Yeah, I would like if E3's fate is to die, I would at least like to go to one before it goes. That's all. It
would just be nice to have a more professional kind of area than PAX, because PAX is nuts.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely get to this distinction.
I mean, also, it is never going to be as it was.
Sure,
unfortunately,
and I agree with that. Because
you have like you have PlayStation, like, once PlayStation pulls out of, like, E3, I don't know if this means that they're gonna come back, but, like, I can only think, like, okay, sure, Nintendo's gonna be there and Xbox is gonna be there, and then there's gonna be a bunch of indie developers. Have fun.
Yeah.
Like, not that that's bad, not, like, that's not bad at all, right? But, you know, like, if we're being honest, it's going to cost much less to, and I think we've talked about this before on this podcast, it's going to cost much less to put together a state of play than it is to pay for rented space out in LA to host an E3 event. Like, a lot less for these companies,
Sure.
which is, I'm sure, why most of them have found that it's easier to reach a wider audience through something like State of Play, and then send journalists copies, or not send them copies, but like have them come out and watch gameplay of it or try out gameplay elsewhere. Like, it does end up saving money, and it is still reaching everyone who would have seen it anyway. Possibly even more people than would have attended and watched the entire E3 event are going to be able to just tune in for this 35 minutes of the PlayStation State of Play and watch what they want to see, right? Like, Brandon is probably going to watch all of the Nintendo Direct, and I'm going to watch 15 minutes of it and see if I'm interested, as opposed to, like, Chris, who's going to watch, you know, everything that's there at E3, like, the whole time, and then Kelly's going to tune out when it's not horror games, right? Like, so, like, we're all different, and so I think it'll be interesting to see what happens, I guess, because it does work for these companies. Like, what they have been doing has been working. And they've changed their marketing strategy to make it work in the middle of a pandemic, to make it work with not having E3. Like, now we have Capcom. They're going to do their own showcase now. If this works for them, do they need to be at E3? Probably not. You know, they can join an Xbox presentation, save a lot of money. They don't have to have a presence there. And then anything that's not mentioned there, they're like, hey, on the week of E3, just watch our showcase. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway, it's getting late, so I got one more thing to ask you guys. There's a tweet by Dali Demovsky that says 2023 looks ridiculous for gaming, maybe the best year ever. And the games here are Final Fantasy 16, Starfield, Redfall, PSVR 2, Breath of the Wild 2, Street Fighter 6, Dead Space Remake, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Suicide Squad, Exoprimal, Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, Jedi Survivor, Wolf Among Us 2, and that is not including some of the games that we have seen recently, including nothing from Nintendo. So we've got a bunch of stuff from Nintendo on the horizon. That is some of Xbox and PlayStation there. But we've got even more. So it does look like 2023 is going to be the, oh my god, what is that? The Callisto Protocol is not there. That really scary looking fucking game that was shown at the State of Play is also not there, which I thought was interesting. What a surprise. So my last question to you guys is, with 2022 halfway over, before we look to 2023, are there any games that you think are Game of the Year contenders for 2022 so far, in your opinion, whether it be personal or just in general?
I'm just gonna put. I'm sure the one that everyone thinks is gonna win Game of the Year is gonna be mentioned. So I won't even. I'll just say that my personal Game of the Year of all the games I've played so far has easily been Triangle Strategy. And I mentioned this like last year when we did a podcast episode when the demo came out. I was like, if this game goes on the direction it's going, it has the potential to be my Game of the Year 2022. We're in halfway through 2022, and it seems like it might win this. It's like there's still a few games to come out this year, so it may still get overtopped. But right now, I'm really feeling that it might be the one because like I love the visuals, I love the voice acting, I love the music of the game, the gameplay, the different story paths that you can take as you go forward, how everything feels like it has like an actual weight to it. It just absorbed me during the weeks I was playing that game. Like I was thinking about very little else, just like what my decisions would lead into, how I would appropriately use my characters in each battle. I can't wait to do another playthrough of that game. I'm working on some backlog, so it's the only reason I haven't done it yet. But I desperately want to see how the other routes go as well. But I'm very happy with the first one I chose. Yeah.
What month was that released in?
That came out in March. That was like pretty early March too. And there was like a demo that came out before it, which I played. Like it had like 3 chapters available, and I did like all 3 chapters. And then I did it the third chapter again because you could choose you could make your first major choice in that demo. So I saw both sides of the decision already before the game even actually came out.
I'm so disappointed because I was like, that seems like such a Jarrell game, and I haven't played it yet. But also, they talk a lot, and I tried playing it once, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, yo,
it is talking. So that's the thing. That's the thing too. I like a lot of previews of the game weren't feeling it because there was a lot of dialogue, especially in last year's demo. That was definitely a big thing. I didn't personally mind it that much because I don't mind a game telling me a good story. But I do remember that when the game actually came out, like people were a little more receptive to the story once they actually got to the game. I think the problem was, when you're being demonstrated a game that you want to know how it plays, you're not as interested in the story. You want to know if you even like the game first before you are interested in telling its story. And so once people actually got their hands on the full game, they appreciate it a lot more because now they know they like the game, so they're all about the storyline, gameplay balance. The balance could have been a little better, but for me personally, I never minded it because, again, I really like the story of that game.
I actually started it, and I stopped because I was like, damn, y'all just keep going. Like, are we getting anywhere? But I'm gonna try again when I have time. Like, I think the reason I had that issue is because I didn't have time when I started playing it, and then so it makes me feel like I could be playing something else, getting further somewhere else, and like moving along. But I'm definitely gonna try it again. And yes, this is my way of getting suggestions for games I should play. It's the best way to do it. So Kelly, I'll ask you next. Is there any game that you feel like is game of the year for anything that you've played this year?
The only thing I've played this year was Evil Dead the game and Final Fantasy 14, but I don't think that counts. So,
hey, Endwalker, did you play Endwalker? Oh, that was last year, wasn't it? Just kidding.
The end of last
That was
year.
the end of last year, yeah. So no new content there. I see this article that says that Evil Dead was actually voted May 2022's best new game. So, yay for that. That's the only thing I can say about it.
Yay.
I don't know. There's nothing really else. I guess the Callisto Protocol I'm looking forward to, but I can't imagine. If it's not The Last of Us, a scary game is likely not going to win Game of the Year.
Yeah.
But the graphics look so good, and it looks like a good game. So, I mean, I guess maybe that or Evil Dead. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre game is coming out, but I don't think these are Game of the Year contenders at all. They're just stuff I'm excited to see. So personal pick for Game of the Year, I suppose one of those.
Fair point. Chris?
I think my Game of the Year so far is kind of obvious, but it's probably going to be Elden Ring. I've never liked the Souls games before. I've never really got into Sekiro either. So I was really surprised by Elden Ring. I played 50, 60, 70 hours of it. I've loved it. Like, it's the only game that's really stood out to me this year that was incredible. Just the big, massive open world, the ability to move to a different area. Like, if you're struggling with one boss, it's not like linear. You could go all places and level up, and just the amount of like world building as well is pretty immense. So I really liked Elden Ring personally. I think Multiverses is going to be a highlight for me this year. It just feels good. The connection between players is really solid. And I like the characters so far and the way it looks. So I think Multiverses is definitely going to be up there for me. Pokemon Legends Arceus was a great game. And I feel the open world kind of nature of it, where like you're actually seeing the Pokemon in the wilderness, is just adds so much to it. But I feel like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have a real good chance of being nominated for Game of the Year. I really feel like that.
I hope so.
Yeah. I hope it's polished, like as it looks. Right so far in the trailers, it looks really polished. So I'm hoping that really stands out. But Moss Book 2 as well was really good. A PSVR game. So that's another one there.
You know, it's so funny when you're describing Elden Ring. I was like, oh my god, he's just describing Pokemon Legend. No, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Like, it's fine. He's literally describing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'm excited. I played Elden Ring. I, like you, have not enjoyed those games. And Elden Ring was the first one that I was like, hey, I'm gonna spend 4 hours trying to kill this bitch. Yeah. And enjoy it. Like, when I actually...
I don't know what they did.
It really clicked. Like, it had never clicked before, and then playing Elden Ring, I was like, damn, I get why people really enjoy these games. I
feel it's because the reason why it's like that is because you can see that the bosses can be defeated rather than last time where it just seems insurmountable. So yeah.
It's not game of the year for me though. I personally don't like open worlds that much, so it's whatever to me. I like linear games. Tell me where I gotta go because I got like an hour to play. So let me know where I'm going. Let me know how long it's gonna take me, and then I can move on to the next one. The thing that also I don't really care for about Elden Ring, although I've really enjoyed it, is the way that multiplayer works. It's just not. It's really annoying. It's fun when it works. Like, I got my ex-boyfriend and Gabe, who's on the podcast, and they came to like help me kill a boss. I was like, fuck this shit. Like, I'm so annoyed. I can't do this. But just getting them into the game with me at first was ridiculous. But once it worked, it was just a lot of fun to be able to do that multiplayer. So yeah, I really enjoyed what I've played of Elden Ring. I haven't finished it. Not game of the year for me. There's nothing for me that has been game of the year. Maybe it will be Pokemon. But I will definitely try out Triangle Strategy. I will definitely play more of Elden Ring. I will not be playing the Callisto Protocol. I will watch Kelly stream it. And hopefully, if I'm not too scared, I'll play it. I will be playing The Quarry this Friday.
I hope that's good.
I really hope it's as good as Until Dawn was, and not like the rest of the anthology. So we will see. But yeah, it's gonna be a good gaming year next year. This year's been okay, but we'll see what happens. At the end of this year, anyway. Thank you so much, Chris.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's been so fun. Thank you for talking to us, being open, and just being cool and being chill, being here, and just chatting with us. It's wonderful. It's been a great time. Thank you, Kelly. And thank you, Brandon.
Yeah.
And thank you, everyone who listens. And Chris, can you plug your socials, please?
Yeah, my socials, at Penwell Writes on Twitter. You can find me. I'm writing for Double XP and Nintendo Link and Tech Raptor, so you can find me there. I usually tweet out my stuff, so maybe just follow my Twitter and then you can read my stuff from there. But anyway, guys, thanks for having me, and may your heart be your guiding key.
Yes, sir!
I think I had that tattooed somewhere. We'll see.
Oh, really?
Maybe. I don't know. I have lots of tattoos. Okay. I actually don't remember.
Okay.
I think it's on here. I don't know. Whatever. If I don't, I'll go get it. Whatever. Okay. Anyway, with that, thank you guys, and good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.